All right, so here we're supposed to use method 2 again. So that's where we change our limits. All right, so let's first off think about, okay, well, we're gonna have to do u substitution. So let's say, well, let's let u equal what? 6 minus t. du equals what? Well, that's gonna be a minus 1 dt. And for our limits, well, x initially was what? 5, and x used to be 2, and now it's going to be u. Okay, so now we're going to plug a 5 in here. 6 minus 5 is going to be 1. And u now is going to be, well, it's going to be 6 minus 2, which is going to be a 4. Okay, that's not a problem yet. So now let's think about what we have. Okay, well, if this is going to be u, that's going to be replaced with the u. Well, now we need a -1 up here. So we need to make that a negative. If we make that a negative, we have to multiply by a -1 out in front. So a -1 times -1 gives us a +1. So that's kind of a key here. And so let's rewrite this now as we have a -1 integral. Now remember, we're going from 4 to 1. And we have what? 1 over u to the 1/2. And the reason why I write that is because instead of square root, I know once I have that, then I can say, okay, well, let's now rewrite that as what? Well, that's going to be -1 from 4 to 1 of u to the -1/2 du. All right. Now, hopefully you're thinking to yourself, why do I have a bigger number here than here? Well, if you remember on some of the problems we've done in the past, they initially tell us go to 1 to 4, but they give us 4 to 1. And how we did that was, well, actually we're not, this is what we want, but this is what we're given. And so to get back to the 1 to 4, we have to make it a negative out in front. So we're changing the sign out in front. So to change this, we're going to say, okay, well, now we're going to have a -1 times a -1, but now we're going to go from 1 to 4, and we have u to the -1/2 du. Okay. So notice we have the two double negatives, so that becomes just a positive. So we're going to go from 1 to 4 of u to the -1/2 du. All right. So once we integrate it, we've already changed our limits to u's instead of x's, so we don't have to back substitute, or t's rather, we don't have to back substitute this. And so this will then give us what? Well, that goes up to what? U to the +1/2 over 1/2. And then we get what? Well, then it's going to be what? It's just going to be then evaluated from 1 to 4. And so then that goes to what? Well, that's going to be, well, if we multiply this by 2 over 1 and that by 2 over 1, we have 2 and then the square root of u, and we're going 1 to 4. All right. So what does that give us? 2 times square root of 4 minus 2 times the square root of 1. And so that's going to be 2 times 2, that's 4. And that's going to be -2. And so that gives us a solution then of 2 for our answer. Right? So a couple things we had to do. We had to remember, do u substitution, get our u du. They want us to do method 2, which was change your limits from x's to u's. So then at the end, we don't have to go back and resubstitute back in our u, our t's, and for the u's, we can just say, okay, well, we've changed it to u's. We just evaluate it that way. So that was the first step. Then, we had to make that a negative and that a negative to have it work with the u du. And then after that, we noticed our lower and upper limits were kind of backwards. And so what we had to do is we had to change these. And then when we do that, we change the sign. And then that just made the whole thing positive. Then we did our integration, and then we could get our solution. All right, so let's stop there and we'll come back for some more.